Have you ever wondered what it's like to actually use the theories you learnt in school in real life? Well, here's the thing. For some of us, those theories remain invaluable, and one of my favorites is game theory. Well, hello there. Welcome to yet another episode of Between Me and the Ink. I know the weather is shitty, and I do hope you are safe and keeping warm. If you're feeling extra low lately, we're together in that boat. I do not do well in the cold season, and it's been extra tough this past few weeks, but we keep on fighting the good fight. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. My name is Faye, and today I want to share my notes on how you can apply game theory to optimize your relationships. If you've never heard of game theory, it's a branch of applied mathematics that's all about analyzing situations where the parties make interdependent decisions. In international relations, game theory is used to predict how other countries will respond to a given decision. For example, in the conflict between the US and the Soviet Union, the creation of nuclear weapons is often perceived through the lens of game theory. The US and the Soviet Union could have cooperated and agreed to not create nuclear weapons, but instead, one player defected and built nuclear weapons, and then the other one followed suit, resulting in a double loss. If they had cooperated, they both would have had trillions of dollars to invest in other areas, especially since we now know that it would be impossible to use these nuclear weapons without facing severe retaliation. Anyway, away from the nuclear wars, game theory is essentially a framework for modeling scenarios that involve a conflict of interest. I think it is an ideal lens for strategic decision making because it is logical and guides you towards optimal outcomes. If both parties are rational, it is easier to get a win-win situation, and that is what relationships should be about. My first takeaway from game theory is that you should be nice. I know the connotations of niceness are not always, nice, and yet niceness is by far the most attractive quality you can possess. By being nice here, I mean someone with no malicious intent. In the experiments that helped to formulate the game theory, the participants who played nice consistently had some of the highest scores, indicating that they were often creating a winning situation for themselves. In the relationship context, playing nice is about not doing things that upset your partner. It makes sense that you should center yourself and do things that make you happy. But if these things tend to upset the person that you claim to love, then something is definitely not right. In any situation that comes up in the relationship, being nice is the first way to create a win-win scenario. For example, if you're planning on spending the weekend with your friends and your partner asks you to accompany them to an event, I think you can tell them that you have other plans that you're really excited for and still be nice about it. You can even offer to hang out with them the next weekend or go on a date in the middle of the week. Niceness here is about never throwing the first punch, in a manner of speaking. Because if you do something that is not nice, you create a situation where your person can retaliate by doing the same thing or something even worse. And then you'll be stuck in a spiral of who did worse and who started it. And that's all just nasty business. My second takeaway is that you should be forgiving. In the game theory experiments, players that were willing to forgive a defection were more likely to recover the cooperation streak. Those that did not forgive a defection would end up defecting for the rest of the game, thus losing all the points that they could have gained by that one act of forgiveness. I don't think I have to explain to you the importance of forgiveness in your relationship, but I'll say this. We imagine that forgiving is an easy thing, that you just let go of the heart and it's done. But depending on the transgression, you might need to do more than just let go. Sometimes you think you've forgiven someone, but you're still subconsciously punishing them for their actions, or you find yourself unable to trust them again. Without forgiveness, there's very little room to fully be ourselves because we are all prone to mistakes. Knowing that you can be forgiven and that you are worth the forgiveness allows you to feel safer in that relationship, and I think that's where the idea of fighting for your relationship comes in. But when you're having a hard time forgiving your person, the best you can do is talk to them about it. Not to tell them that you can't forgive them, obviously, but to have them know that it is taking some time, but you are trying and will continue to try. Ideally, your person will understand that they fucked up and they owe it to you to be patient when you deal with the pain that they caused. But yes, it is very hard to maintain a happy and wholesome relationship if you're never willing to forgive. We all want grace when we are at fault, and the best way to earn it is by giving it. One reminder that helps me when I'm struggling with forgiveness is to trust the intention. When the outcome hurts us, we focus on that, but the intentions count too. Also, in many cases, there are extenuating circumstances that contribute to the negative outcome. Learning how to have a 360 view in such situations can be helpful, along with processing your feelings and being open to the process that your forgiveness entails. Lesson 3 is to retaliate when necessary. Players that retaliated simply taught their opponent that there are consequences to their bad actions, thus teaching these opponents not to defect unless provoked. Within relationships, this lesson translates to having boundaries and enforcing them. Forgiveness is very important, 100%, but do not be the doormat partner who lets their person get away with all kinds of nonsense. One common regret I hear when people break up is about how much disrespect they tolerate and how they should have been more firm with their boundaries and stuff like that. But I do not mean the kind of retaliation that will get you both sick or entangled in some messy drama. I think personally, retaliation has been a great way to keep myself from being sucked into a resentment spiral where I am unhappy, but I can't do anything about it. I think retaliation is permission to let your pettiness play out when needed because you are nobody's doormat. I must say, however, retaliation can be a slippery slope. You have to always remember that you do care for the other person and you're not trying to harm them in any way. The last takeaway is to be clear. When you offer clarity, you give the other party a chance to decide how they want to proceed. In the experiments, the first few rounds of the game were used to communicate strategy. Players who stuck to the strategy they showed at the beginning were able to maintain a successful cooperation because the other players learned how best to play with them. For example, if you communicate that you are nice, you are forgiving, and you're going to retaliate when provoked, it becomes more likely that the other player will try to not provoke you. In many instances, players would defect because they do not know the strategy being used by the other party. But when you are clear, there is no reason to defect to begin with. Within the relationship setting, I think clarity is a very important thing. Fear can even the best of connections, and the only way to ensure that it doesn't is to speak clearly about everything. Applying game theory in your relationships will ensure that you are seeking out optimal outcomes, not just for yourself, but for the other person as well. And this can be applied even in platonic relationships, anywhere where there are rules of engagement and where your actions influence the actions of another person. And with that, I must say thank you again for sticking with me till the end. It's always a delight sharing my notes with you. And until next week, stay safe, babe.